Okay, Assalamualaikum and hello to Ms. Farah. So our group will be present about furniture manufacturing. So this group consists me, Siti Nur Hikmah binti Hamidun, Nur Syahada binti Ahmad and Nur Dila binti Usman. So the first slide will be present to next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So I'm going to proceed the presentation with the company background. So for this risk assessment, for this assignment, we have choose a world trend garden furniture neighborhood that specializing in manufacturing wooden garden furniture since 2002. This company is located at Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, and it is 100% owned by Malaysian. This company is export their product to few countries such as China, Australia, Japan, Middle East, and South Africa. This company has been produced many user-friendly and popular products. Next slide.
So this is the objective of this report. So the objective is to identify and record possible hazards that may occur in the workplace of furniture manufacturing, to conduct an occupational health risk assessment and observe the level of risk based on the risk matrix. Identify the hazard in this work activities toward workers to highlight the effect of this hazard to pose a suitable control measure for an existing hazard.
Okay, for detailed explanation for furniture manufacturing workplace assessment, so in this assignment, we have choose wooden furniture manufacturing process. So there is a lot of materials and equipment are used in this job activity. For job activity in wooden furniture manufacturing are starting from receiving of timber, cutting and molding, assembly operation, finishing and packing, also delivery furniture. To conduct a workplace assessment, we choose to highlight on cutting process. And explanation for every work activity in furniture manufacturing. So there are five work process. So the first process is receive the timber. Timber comes with different species, level of thickness, size and grade, and level of moist, whether it is in 12% until 15%. The size is in different types, and the quality of timber must be checked properly and classified it into a several grades. And for cutting and molding process, there are two stages. The first stage is conversion stage of cutting process is timber breaking down in every piece in a rough sawing. In stage 2 is sawing process where the cutting process more accurate and precise. And the third process is assembly process operation. To make it in a strong bond, all joints components are glued or use wooden dowel pin to join two parts of furniture. And to figure the part of furniture, all the components is glued together according to drawing and design. And assembled parts are labeled and stored together to future identification. And the fourth process is finishing and packing process. For finishing and packing process is assembled lumber part is soaked into thick oil for a while and wiped dry. It must be inspected before packed into carton box. And the function is to avoid insect or fungus come into the wood. And the last process is delivery of furniture. All completed wooden furniture are loading into containers and vehicles, then be shipped out through vehicles or ship to customers all over the world.
Okay, so for the risk matrix, according to DMOSH guidelines for hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk control. So before we get into it, risk matrix is used to determine the risk level towards worker during completing or doing the task at workplace. The highest number of risk level means more dangerous to workers at workplace. Risk level can be identified by multiply, severity level, and likelihood level. Likelihood is how often the hazard occurs during working. According to hierarchy guideline from DOSH, likelihood can be valued into 5-level range. Severity can be defined as amount damage or harm a hazard can form. According to the DOSH guideline for hierarchy, severity can be divided into 5 categories. Next slide. Okay, so this is the risk matrix table. As you can see, there are likelihood and severity. So there is a five level of likelihood and severity, which is 1 is the lowest and the 5 is the highest. So it will multiply the severity and likelihood, and the highest is 15 until 25. So 1 until 4 is low, which is a risk identification as low may be considered as acceptable and further eradication may not be necessary. However, if the risk can be resolved quickly and efficiently, control measures should be implemented and recorded. For the medium, which is risk 5 until 12, a medium risk requires a planned approach to controlling the hazard and applies temporary measure if required. Action taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including that for completion. And the highest risk, which is 15 until 25, a high risk requires immediate action to control the hazard as detailed in the hierarchy of control. Action taken must be documented on the risk assessment form, including that for completion. Okay, next slide.
Okay, this is likelihood table. For likelihood table, there is 5 ratings. In a high rating is most likely, which is the most likely result of the hazard. And the 4th rating is possible, has a good chance of occurring, and it is not unusual. For 3rd rating is conceivable. It might be happen at some time in future. And for rating number 2 is remote, has not been known to happen after many years. And the rating number 1 is inconceivable, is practically impossible and has never happened. And for severity table, also have a 5 rating. So in a high rating is catastrophic, numerous fatalities, irrecoverable property damage, and productivity is a 5 rating. And for 4 rating is a fatal, approximately 1 signal fatality, major property damage if hazard is realized. And the 3rd rating is a serious. So which meaning is which meaning non-fatal injury, permanent disability. And the rating number 2 is minor, disabling but not permanent injury. And the rating number 1 is negligible, is minor abrasions, bruises, cuts, first aid type injury.
The next part of this presentation is the hierarchy of control. According to DOSH, the hierarchy of control is divided into 5 stages, which is elimination, substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and personal protective equipment. According to this hierarchy of control, the most effective way to eliminate the hazard is elimination. The least effective is a PPE. To control the industrial hazard that we have been highlighted in hierarchy form, after this, at work trend garden furniture Sudan Berhad, we choose to use elimination, engineering control, administration control, and personal protective equipment to overcome all the hazard towards the worker at this workplace.
For hierarchy table, in this process, we highlight the cutting process. So for work activity in cutting process, use of machinery equipment. So in this work activity, hazard that we found is exposure to excessive noise, which can cause to hearing loss and deafness. And existing risk control is wear suitable ear protective equipment, and the likelihood is 3, severity is 3, and the risk is 9, which is a medium. And recommended control measure that we given in this work activity is elimination, administration control, and personal protective equipment. For elimination, use silent circular saw blade. And for administration control, is maintain cutting machinery and equipment routinely, such as lubricate gears. And for personal protective equipment is use earmuff or earplug.
The second hazard that we have highlighted in cutting process is wood cutting using benzo, which can cause the worker is exposed to wood dust at the workplace, and it can cause respiratory illnesses. And the survival control measure currently is the worker is wearing a disposable dust mask during working. The likelihood for this hazard is 3 and the severity is 3, makes the risk at the 9, which is in the medium. To overcome this hazard, we have proposed engineering control, which is the employer must install a proper ventilation system. For this control measure, the most suitable ventilation system is a local exhaust ventilation system, and this LEV must be provided under the blade slot. To collect dust from the saw teeth, the suction nozzle must be put above the table at the rear of the saw blade. The requirement to install the ventilation system has been stated under FMA 1967, section 22, bracket 1, bracket C and bracket 1. Also in usage regulation 2000, part 5, regulation 18, section 1, section A and section B. The next control measure is administrative control. A proper housekeeping must be applying by worker at this workplace. During the housekeeping process, the worker cannot use compressed air to blow away all the dust, but they can use a vacuum to suck all the dust. Other than that, the vacuum also can be used to remove dust from employees' clothing. The next hazard is a wood cutting using benzo, which is the worker is exposed to benzo blade. It can cause a finger or hand amputation. The least hazard that can happen to worker is a minor cut. The survival control measure is they have a work practice control. For this hazard, the likelihood is number 3, severity is 3, and makes the risk at the 9, which is the medium. To overcome this hazard, we have proposed engineering control, which is install a machine guard at the benzo. For benzo, the most suitable machine guard is an adjustable guard. This guard is suitable because it can be adjusted if the machine is handled a different size of woods. This has been the requirement to install a safeguard has been stated under FMA 1967, Part 2, Safety, Health and Welfare, Section 15, Dangerous to Machinery, Paragraph 2, which is it's mentioned about the requirement to install the safeguard on machine to avoid the operator contact with dangerous part of machine, which is the blade. The next control measure is a personal protective equipment. The employee must provide workers with a proper PPE, such as goggles, face shield, and gloves. That's all. Next.
Okay, so this is the last hazard that we identify is using electrical benzo. which is exposure to electrical shock that can cause to electrocution, serious burns or falls. Personal for the existing risk control is personal protection equipment is provided. So the likelihood in this for this hazard is 4, and the severity is 1, which is the risk is 4 low risk hazard. So for the recommended control measure that I propose is an administration control, training operator to safely use the machine, all moving machine parts, including the cords and wires that may cause injury must be safeguarded, properly maintaining the equipment, inspect the wiring equipment before use. So a good housekeeping for the wire equipment is a must so that because so that the falls or trip maybe can be reduced. So the next control measure is PPE, personal protection equipment, personal protective equipment, provide a rubber glove with leather protectors, insulating sleeve, and flame resistant clothing.
To end up this presentation, I'm doing the conclusion part. So the hazard in workplace can be overcome efficiently if the organization management department and worker cooperate properly in terms of doing their tasks at the workplace. Plus, in order to create a safe and healthy work environment, it is important for everyone in organization knows and play their role properly because some unsafe condition at workplace happen or occur due to unsafe act from everyone in the organization. That's all from us. Thank you.